Hi everyone, this is Amelia. I have Steph with me, who is a divine feminine who I've been working with since about July last year. And the reason I've asked Steph if she would be interested in doing an interview or sort of Q&A session with me is actually because of the really fantastic growth that's happened on her journey so far and the kind of real world tangible results. And I thought, she might have something very interesting, something quite wise to share. So thank you, Steph, for being here. Thank you for agreeing.
You're welcome. Hi, Amelia.
Hi. Okay. So I'm happy to just dive in if you are.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
go for it.
Okay. So I was wondering if, first you might be willing to give us a kind of overview of your twin flame journey so far. Anything you feel comfortable with sharing?
Sure. My journey, I think, has been going on for quite a while. It's been 11 years now.
Okay.
I met my twin 11 years ago, unexpectedly through other people, through friends. I didn't know he was my twin then,
Mm,
um, but I did feel an astounding sort of feeling when I met him. It was like very magical. It felt like love at first sight. It felt very intense, and I felt very drawn to him.
okay.
Um, yeah, so we became friends. We actually ended up doing some work together because it was to do with entertainment, and
Hmm.
we actually got on really, really well. We almost were like, really good friends that you could call best friends in some ways, but
Mm,
we did get intimate. So it wasn't a relationship, but it was sort of a friends that got intimate or benefits or something like that.
okay.
Uh, yeah. And then, do you want me to carry on? Tell you a bit more?
Yeah, so at the start, I know it sort of was this instant feeling of connection and recognition for you. Did you pick up that he felt the same, or was he sort of playing it a bit cool?
No, like the time our eyes met, he just seemed super excited, and afterwards
Okay.
he was behaving in a way like he really wanted to talk to me, wanted to stay in touch. And then we had mutual contacts or friends, and they kept saying, "Oh, he keeps talking about you." So
Mm.
people around us started to feel this sort of energy. And then he did a very embarrassing thing where he kissed me in front of all my friends, very unexpectedly. Um, and I was so unexpected by it. So yeah, that was like 10 years ago though.
Mm. Okay, I mean, obviously made an impression because because
Yeah.
it's just sort of an embarrassing moment in your mind. So how did it? So you said you became intimate, and but you were still in this sort of friendship situation. Was it kind of quite an enjoyable process, or I know normally, there can be the runner chaser dynamic. Was it sort of difficult at times?
No, actually back then it was quite like fun and exciting, and it was like we got on so well, we worked well together, intimately. It was great. We could talk forever. We were really close.
Mm.
There was no weird, well, not shouldn't say weird, but there was no uncomfortable feeling. Although the thing that put me off was he was a ladies' man, and
Oh, okay.
we would do events, and I would see him with talking to lots of women, but he was known to be quite a player, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, in the back of my mind, I never really took him seriously. And it might have been my ego at the time that I said, you know, I will never really invest in this kind of guy longer term. He's fun, he's great, but he's not, what society, and I laugh now because I know that that's just nonsense, but
Mm.
that's not what, family society, that's not really a respectable type of relationship to be with someone that's going to be flaky
Yeah.
and maybe not, wanting to commit.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. And it's definitely part of the twin flame journey to have these kind of paradigms raised in our minds and for us to work through them and to actually think about where we position ourselves in relation to them. So it's actually really interesting that you mentioned that. Have you spoken with him about, sort of your feelings or moving it beyond, where you got to in terms of friends who were very close?
I actually told myself that I couldn't continue with him, like in the back of my mind. So I met somebody around that same time and started to date them. And then I told him I'm dating someone. And then eventually I told him I'm marrying someone.
Okay.
Yeah. So then I got married. He said to me as a friend, "Why are you doing it? Like, are you sure you want to get married?" Because there was still this chemistry between us, this energy, this pull between us. But I turned around and said, well, who would marry you? I mean, you're not
Oh,
serious. It was horrible. And then I invited him to my wedding. Yeah, I know. So,
and he come to your wedding?
no, he refused to. He actually said, I couldn't see you marry someone else. And he actually did tell me back then that he loved me. But I just thought, if this is just a typical player and I
Mm,
need to just do what's right for me, and he's not
yeah.
going to be, solid. So it almost then, Amelia, I think I was the runner, if I'm
Okay.
honest. I think it's actually gone both ways a few times, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, yeah, I mean, it's not that the divine masculine, divine feminine roles are so rigid and fixed. They can cross over, but I don't think that's spoken about enough because if, the divine feminine becomes a runner for a period of time, it can create confusion and then they start to wonder, am I the divine feminine? Am I the divine masculine? But really, it's sort of about the union within yourself primarily. So we're all a bit of both. So yeah, it does make sense that the sort of runner chaser dynamic would have switched a few times.
Yeah, so I think I was the one to run at the beginning, by doing the whole getting married process. And then when I was married, he kind of told me that, I would always be his, and, that doesn't matter if I'm married. So I actually then distanced myself because I was scared to, disrespect my marriage because of
Mm,
the attraction we had, the pull we had. So I sort of went ghost for several
okay.
years. Um, and then we started to talk again, and then another phase kicked off, um, where he was still sort of chasing me or interested in me. um, Stuff happened, and then I would sort of run or say, this is not right and I can't
Hmm.
do this. Then it went on for a couple of years, and then I just knew that something was really strange with this whole dynamic between me and him. It was like, it always just felt that there was something, him amongst all the men I've met. Why him? Like, why does
Mm,
it always come back to him and me? um, and then a few years ago in 2017, he had messaged me, and the time of his message was at 11:11.
oh wow.
And yes, and around, just a few months before that, I started seeing 11:11.
Okay. Hmm.
And I I was going through a lot of like personal, I was hiding a lot. I felt like, I think for those years I was really someone else. I was someone living in ego, someone living in fear, wounds. Maybe I wasn't awakened to all of the things that was really going on inside me. I wasn't happy in my marriage. I was never really genuinely invested in it, I don't think. But I
Okay.
felt it was the right thing to do. And I think I fell in a codependent or a need state that I just need to have someone there, if
Mm,
that makes sense.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then after I started seeing the 11:11, well, me and my twin, we actually then kind of rekindled something, and we started to get close again. We took a holiday together. It became like a honeymoon period. I was actually still married. Um, and that's when it really woke me up, because I knew that my marriage wasn't right, and that it was almost like it shook my world, because I felt like I was falling in love again with him, but in such a deeper way, like in a way that I'd never felt before. And it was, even he was feeling so sort of in love. It was quite euphoric, actually.
Mm,
I still feel those feelings if I kind of sense back to that time, and don't
yeah.
think I've ever felt that way before. So then my life transformed quite significantly, because I felt that I had to take some kind of action and face up to me living in a sort of a hiding myself,
Mm,
in my marriage. And I wanted to become an honest person. I wanted to really become, you know, free, and free for the right reasons. But I think back then it was driven from the love of my twin, from all of that feeling. And if I tell you now, I think that, yes, I think it's good it happened, but no one should leave someone for somebody else, if that makes
hmm,
sense.
hmm. Yeah,
I don't
definitely.
I don't think that that's right. And actually, if I fast forward to now, the decisions of my divorce were all done in isolation of my twin. I was actually not with my twin. We were
Mm,
not talking. We were completely sort of separate. And I did decide to have my divorce off my own, power decision and sort of intuition that I felt guided me to make that right decision.
Mm. Okay. Yeah, yeah. And then it's sort of like it takes the pressure actually off of your connection with your twin. And regardless of what happens with that moving forward, you can still feel that you made that decision for the right reasons and for yourself.
Yeah, and I think when my twin realized that, I told my husband. It was complicated because he knew him.
Oh, right.
Um, yeah, and so it was a really, really traumatic time. It was
Mm,
very, very painstaking for everyone. My husband is and was a karmic partner, and I didn't know what karmic partner was at the time. I really didn't understand any of those terms. It's only
mm,
really until I found your videos, to be honest, earlier last year, earlier 2018. But before that, I was just trying to make sense of things. Now, my twin didn't start running. We kind of carried on with this like romance, and it was quite incredible. I was living abroad for a while, and so it was a bit long distance for a stint until I had to come back. It was almost like the universe threw a tower moment on me, which I think I
mm,
can confidently say. Came back home, and it was like I was having to face the music of making decisions with my marriage, decisions with where I wanted to go in life. And then my twin sort of abandoned me.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Timing.
Now, yeah, he said he was going through his own stuff. He said that I think it would just became intense. I don't think he ever
Mm,
thought it would get this real, me coming back home, and maybe
yeah.
he always thought that I'd be a long distance love, and maybe he wouldn't have to face the real reality of me and him really having this committed relationship together.
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
I think for him it was a fantasy for many years. I
Mm,
think I've always been a fantasy and a wish, but he never thought that that would ever come true.
hmm
But then with me brings a lot of pain, and I think the twins, we shine lights on each other, and he shone lights on me that showed my pain and where I needed to sort of work on myself, and vice versa. So we were going through a lot of cycles. We were living these sort of reoccurring cycles, in different ways, where it was a cycle where I felt like it was a fantasy, like we never really took it for real.
hmm
We were like in a dream state. It was
Okay.
almost, does that make sense? Like an illusion.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's almost like for as long as it feels like it's unobtainable, you can both kind of, go fully in. You can be as, excited and as sort of passionate and as out there as you want. But as soon as it becomes something that you could have, something that's tangible, it's more scary, isn't it? And you have to start thinking practically, and people can sort of close up once it becomes this real thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the reality of me being a married woman and a man being being the one that gets with that married woman, it's like, well, you actually are a bad person, and you've
Yeah.
encouraged all this. Now that's what the society would say, but we
Mm,
know the twin flame journey is far more deeper and far more, there's a lot more to this. And it's,
mm,
I feel thankful to my twin, because if it wasn't for my twin, I wouldn't have freed myself from a karmic partner. I wouldn't have realized and um, came across the internal challenges I had, and the need to really work on myself.
yeah, yeah, definitely. So can we talk a bit about sort of how you did then begin working on yourself and sort of what kind of things you did? Because actually I hadn't asked you what it was that kind of I suppose encouraged you to book a reading with me, because obviously we talked about the sort of things you wanted to cover in the readings, but had you been working with anybody, readers before, or doing anything spiritual, or did that sort of come after?
Yeah, no, I never came across really wanting to do a tarot reading, in all honesty. And I think this is another society sort of frame that we get given. I'm born a Catholic, and
Okay.
I grew up where my parents, my dad said, you can't read your horoscope. That's like the wrong thing. That's
Okay.
against the church. So we'd
Mm,
get in trouble as kids to read our horoscope. But I had an auntie that used to read tarot, and my dad used to say, "Oh, I don't want that around us." So I
Mm.
just always thought that those things were bad.
Okay.
Although I was always drawn to my horoscope, I kind of thought that tarot wasn't a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, I had no proof, but it was something that I learned from young in my subconscious brain, I guess.
Yeah.
So um, as I started to feel sort of I needed answers, and I started to read about soulmates, twin flame, I really felt that I was a twin flame. Things were resonating so much. I started getting messages, synchronicities, it was the numbers. Just, I was definitely on this sort of ascension journey. The way my life was transforming so significantly, um, it was just resonating so much. So I think I just drew, like, found, videos, and I'd read things, and that's how I found you.
Mm-hmm.
um I came across a few tarot readers and I listened to a few, but something drew me to you. What you were saying in that particular video, I think it was early last year, just seemed to really, like, give me some support. It made me feel like I wasn't alone, because this twin flame journey can feel very lonely, because friends don't get it. They think you're crazy if you would ever
Yeah,
talk
yeah,
about
pretty much
this.
everybody thinks you're crazy.
Yeah, like, and I had lost a lot of people from my life. I was literally shedding a lot of family, friends, everything that I ever knew was, like,
Mm.
falling away from my life. And
Yeah.
so I became, like, the hermit for
Mm-hmm.
for quite a while. This time last year my life was, very different. And I kind of worked on myself. So I started to look after my health. I was always quite health conscious, but I really took it to another level. I said, I really want to take care of myself. So I started to take up yoga. I did it years ago, but I actually didn't realize the meaning of yoga means union, and how beautiful that I found that out only recently.
Mm.
Um, and
Know
I
that
didn't
myself.
realize, yeah, I really didn't realize, the feminine and masculine energy that it works with, and actually how
Oh.
connected it is. So
Mm.
I was drawn to yoga again, and I started doing yoga. I was at a point where I was in between work, so I was really a lot of focus on me, and it was a point where I think it was make or break. It was either I made myself or I didn't, and I've always been a determined person. So I said, right, I'm going to start eating healthy. I gave up meat. I gave up alcohol. I don't smoke anyway. I gave that up a while back. So I really changed my sort of diet, my lifestyle. I started taking care of my body. I started to meditate, which I found tremendously hard at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very analytical brain person. So I found that hard, but kept at it. And so that was working, but there was problems still, because at that time, that's when my twin said, I need to go. And I was really very alone. And
Yeah.
so your video really gave me some solace. It gave me comfort. I put it off for a while because I still thought doing tarot was wrong. A
Mm-hmm.
friend of mine had mentioned she had done it, and I still thought, no, that you're not supposed to do those things. Until I started to talk to my twin again, and it got really, really, like, toxic, and it was horrible. I was going through a cycle with my twin that was super painful, and I was really in pain. And I was listening to your readings, and then one day I said, right, I need to contact you. And that's why I approached you, because I was at a really bad point, when I reconnected with my twin, and I felt very lost,
Mm.
even though I was grounded in the sense that I had, I was looking after my body, I was taking care of myself, my mind and my emotions, I felt trapped. I felt very
Mm-hmm.
trapped. I felt like there was no way out, and I had no one to talk to.
Yeah. Okay, okay, that makes sense. Well, I'm glad you did reach out, and I'm glad that, the readings sort of have helped because we actually haven't done one for a while. And actually, I think that's really nice because you can, tell me if I'm wrong, but it felt like you got to a point where, you didn't sort of really need them. It's almost like you sort of had taken off and you were flying. And it still feels like that.
Yeah, I can't believe it. Because I even say to myself, maybe I'll probably get a reading again. But right now, I think I feel good. And it was interesting. Do you remember we did a few readings, and one of the readings, Spirit was giving guidance to say, trust your intuition. Like, you
Yeah,
know a lot of this.
yeah.
And I did take that on board. I'm the type of individual that I've really been into the growth of my personal sort of journey, and I really want to become better. So that resonated with me, and I thought, no, I need to start finding my own sort of insight and understand myself better, because I can get those answers.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but I do know that I can connect with Amelia, and actually that can be a help to me. So how do I find that balance? So then
Mm.
when we did the last reading, and it was phenomenal. I mean, I think I did cry. I've listened to that reading a few times since, though. I actually maybe listened to it earlier this year, because it's so encouraging. The 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 things that you said, the way I've progressed,
Mm-hmm.
um they're really encouraging, and it reminded me that um I've done everything I can,
Yeah.
in terms of me and my twin. It's for my twin to go and do whatever he needs to do for himself, but
Mm.
I personally have got to a point of really understanding myself, and I've got this personal power, and I really just want to relish it, and really step into my new cycle. I recently will have my divorce, and I'm at a point in my life where it's very exciting. I'm meeting new people, and I really want to take that on, in the best way. So I've kind of let go, in a sense. And
Yeah.
I think one of the reasons that helped me was your reading had said, and I'll never forget it, that I was carrying this burden about me and my twin. And I think a lot of divine feminines probably carry these burdens, because we end up giving so much. We end up caring so much. We end up being the ones that get likely to be the most awakened one of the two.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so that's quite heavy, that we are almost feeling like we're responsible for this connection.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. And being the more awakened twin often, or at least usually a few steps ahead, there's sort of this desperate need and desire for your twin, your divine masculine, to sort of ascend and to awaken as well. And you kind of feel like you're carrying that torch, until they get to that point, or unless they get to that point. And it's important to realize that you can take your own awareness and do things in the same way that you have to recreate your own life, and you can't push anybody, divine masculine or anybody else, to sort of awaken or see things differently.
Yeah, and that's, I think, what I came to the conclusion of, because the other thing about the twin flame journey, which I think, it when I realized it was my twin, and I really got confirmation for it, and I always felt it, but I got my own confirmation. And then when I met you, I told you I'm very sure, and you kind of confirmed it too. But the tag or the label of twin flame can
Mm,
actually hold you back.
yeah. Hmm.
And I think back then, when my twin said, I can't really do anything with you right now. I mean, I'm going through a really hard time. I've got personal issues. I was using the whole twin flame sort of, concept as my way to say, well, he's still my twin flame, and, we're going to be together, and all of this. And it wasn't serving me. But now
Mm.
I see why it wasn't serving. It was this time last year, literally, that I was doing it.
Oh,
And I
wow.
was, yeah, it's incredible how much has changed, and I'm so
Mm.
happy to share this with you. But and you've had that impact on me, so thank you.
Oh, no, thank you.
And I think what you're doing is fantastic, because it will help so many people. um but yeah, and the other thing was the signs. So
Hmm.
once I became more awakened, I started seeing synchronicities left, right, and center. Not
Mm.
just his first name, his last name. He's even got like a nickname. I was seeing everything. It was following me, chasing me. It was scary. But what I noticed was that it was so heavy back then, and it was because I wasn't shifting myself. It was
Okay.
almost like spirit was, the more spirit was showing me the signs of my twin. At the time I thought it was because spirit was saying, yes, this is your twin, this is your twin, so you've got to do more, you've got to take action. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so then I was like, right, well, I'm going to read more about the twin flame journey. And then we started talking again, and then I started telling him stuff. I was dreaming a lot, so I was getting a lot of like messages from 5D. I'd seen some premonitions, and some of them came true, and I told him, and he started to realize, wow, like he knew that there was something deeper. But
Mm.
I think I scared him, if I'm honest, because it
Okay.
was just so overwhelming.
Hmm.
And the signs were so intense then. But now I still get the signs, don't get me wrong. But back then, they used to make me cry. They used to make me feel hurt.
Mm,
They used to kind of make me feel trapped.
okay, yeah.
And
I mean,
now they don't, if that makes sense.
it does, yeah. So when you used to see the signs, it felt maybe that the signs came with some kind of call, a wake up call or a call to action, that sort of thing. How do you interpret the 5D signs now in relation to your 3D experience?
Um, I think now when I get the signs, I resonate with them as in this is your twin flame, and
Hmm.
this spirit, this soul loves you and is a part of you, and no matter what is going on in life, live your life, but they'll always be a part of you, whether you're physically with them or not. They
Yeah.
are a part of you.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
That does make sense. Yeah, and that's lovely. So sometimes the signs can be messages of reassurance, or just sort of like a hello, checking in, that sort of thing. It's not necessarily you've seen a sign, now you have to reach out, or you've got to do some inner work, or, you know.
Absolutely.
Mm,
And I think I don't actually talk to my twin right now because I took a stand because the last communication we had, and actually things had transformed, but the last time we saw each other, he was like wanting to, really trying to throw himself at me and wanting to be with me, but I didn't want to repeat a cycle. So I
mm,
was literally the Queen of Swords, sort of saying, no, like I've changed, and you have to match me, or
yeah.
don't come to me at all because I
Mm,
know my worth.
great. Because I remember, wasn't it? It wasn't the last reading or the one before that. I think it was maybe sort of one of the last ones. And the advice was to step into this Queen of Swords energy, which was quite far, I think, from where you were at the time,
Yeah.
and be quite, severe with your boundaries. And actually, you went away and you did that so well that things actually started changing for you, didn't they? And that was so, impressive. And it was sort of really touching that you had taken that advice, even though it was difficult, and moved forward with it.
Yeah, it was really tough, but I
Mm,
did some healing at the same time. I think one of the things you said was that I'm carrying a burden, and I ended up doing a little bit of Reiki, which was really positive. I took some of your advice, so thank you for that. And then I came across theta healing or theta healing. I'm
yeah.
not sure how to
Hmm.
pronounce it, and it has done wonders for me because I had done it back in July of last year,
Okay.
and it really helped me with my subconscious brain state and really helped me with certain wounds I had and things that I was really harboring probably from young or
Mm,
past life even, which I do believe that there's past life energy or wounds that we carry or unfinished business, so to speak. So
mm,
that I think also helped me in combination of what you were saying in the reading. So
hmm.
when I did see my twin, and my twin was literally like, I want to be with you, you're amazing. Like I couldn't believe all of the things he was saying. You're a goddess. I literally was like, what? But the old me would have been like, yeah, okay, let's
Yeah.
let's let's do this. And I was
Mm,
like, no. So and I said no, and I said because I know what I want, I know what I'm worth, and
yeah.
and and funnily enough, my twin actually said, well, I'm a king and I'm going to come back and show you I'm a king.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, how weird is that? Like he hadn't heard the readings. So when he said that, I was just like, okay, spirit, you're having a joke with me now. So sometimes spirit gives me signs, or my twin sends me signs, and I laugh and I go, will you leave me alone? And I
Mm,
talk out loud and I'm like, all right, I get it, you love me. And
yeah.
and it's funny now, and I just don't have that, that heavy energy, the anger towards him.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
really accept that if we're meant to be, we'll be. And the only way I would accept my twin back into my life is if they come back. I'd only accept a high vibrational person in my life. And that goes, same goes for my twin.
Yeah.
And it would have to be equal give and take because it was never that before. And there'd have to be a lot of, compromise and working together. So a very different dynamic, but a
Mm,
very positive dynamic.
yeah, definitely. So, in terms of you said with your twin or with anyone else, are you open to meeting someone who isn't your divine masculine and moving forward with a new connection?
So originally, I was quite stubborn. I felt that if I met someone, I would lose my twin, or it
Mm,
would it would risk the twin flame connection.
yeah.
Um, But as I healed and as I got the support from you and I was doing healing and I was working on myself, um, somebody did enter my life and they were a real refreshing sort of energy. They
Mm-hmm.
were everything that I hadn't really experienced with, recently with my twin. They
Mm-hmm.
were, and they were really lovely to be around and it was so unexpected. So I sort of just took it bit by bit and embraced it. And it was very healing as well for me to be able to embrace that, but to know that there are good people out there and that it's not always going to be the same cycles, that
Yeah.
actually if you work on yourself internally,
Mm-hmm.
you change your environment and your 3D. So if you work on the 5D aspects of yourself, you can actually manifest into the 3D. And that's what I started to notice.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I got this abundance of like new energy, a new person, and so I did get scared to some extent that this new person, I didn't want to go too fast with it.
Mm-hmm.
I think I had asked you for some advice around it,
Mm-hmm.
but I was being quite careful, and since have been. And it's interesting because deep down I know that my twin still loves me, and I still love my twin, but I'm open, and I don't. And if it's right for me, and this person is right, the longer term I'll be with that person. But I'm just not worrying myself with what will be next, and I think that's what us divine feminines seem to do to ourselves. We get so caught up in like what's going to happen next, but we forget
Yeah.
to be in the moment. And being in the moment helps us to be more powerful in our divine feminine energy, and
Yes.
helps us manifest, nurture, really use our true power and our true sort of skills.
Yeah, yeah. And in a sort of, it almost seems counterintuitive, but the more you focus on yourself, like you said, the more you're in alignment and you have that sort of source of personal power to tap into. And that actually can positively impact your twin flame connection. But it does feel scary initially to take that step back.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but I think once you have the faith, you start doing that, you start to see changes. Obviously, it sort of encourages you. So it does get easier in terms of focusing on yourself.
Yes, absolutely. And I think one more thing I want to share with the other divine feminines out there
Mm,
is that the new person I met was healing for me. So helped me sort of overcome certain ideologies that actually, it's not, the good can come. I do deserve good, and I am
mm.
worthy, and I can receive. And this is something I'm actually still working on. But the being able to receive, because we know that we wouldn't be able to maybe reunite with our divine masculines if we're not able to balance out the give and take. But
Yeah.
also you learn from a new person. So I've actually been learning, and some of the things that I was working on in myself, as to become a better person, I was able to put them into practice in this dynamic, and I
Okay.
was seeing good results. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, that's really interesting.
So it was almost like, I'm not saying it was like a practice run, but I was able to show myself that I wasn't going into the same sort of um, handling of situations that I did with my
Mm.
twin. And I was able to set boundaries, for example, and say to the person, well, actually, this is my boundary. And I was using that language, and really sort of, being clear, and, and working in an equal way, and trying to be authentic. And if I did sort of pull back, because there's that point of like, well, do I deserve this self-sabotage moment? I'd
Yep.
be really honest, and I'd come forth and say, I think I'm trying to self-sabotage here. Please understand,
Mm.
where I'm coming from. So really working on the communication has been something that's really helped me by meeting someone new.
Yeah, yeah. I like that, how you sort of explained it, like it gave you that chance to explore the sort of the healed newer version of you and to it's almost like it gives you confidence to know that you're not going to slip back in any sort of way.
Yeah.
And to see that growth playing out, which is, what you've just explained. So that's really lovely.
Yeah, so I think that my advice to divine feminines is, if someone's coming into your life and you feel like you're in a good place, you feel that the healing's working, and you are going down a better path, don't be afraid to receive them or just take it as it comes. However, if you're in a place where you're feeling quite like trapped, and you still feel hurt, and you're still going through some tough times, perhaps that person is not right for you right then, because you really do need to focus on yourself.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's some really good advice. And also perhaps not to get caught up on this new person, you know, is this my divine masculine? Is this a soulmate? Is this a karmic? Sometimes, like you
Yeah.
said, the labels can be a little bit harmful.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's been really nice because with this person I don't feel trapped. I don't feel like I have to be a certain way or put a
Hmm.
label on it.
Yeah.
I'm allowing myself to sort of go with the ebb and flow of things, which I really couldn't do before. Don't get me wrong. There's sometimes I try to come in and put some sort of, you know, my own sort of barriers around things or try to put my own structure. But then I realize and I kind of try to be, you know, natural and free flowing. So it's been a great experience. It's a good exercise for me to use my new sort of abilities and personal power in a positive way.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. Okay. Well, thank you, Steph, for speaking with me.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. I was
No.
thrilled when you asked me to do this. I just thought, wow, this is incredible to be able to share my insights with your channel and the world.
Yeah, no, I just thought you've been on such a journey that it might be really helpful, you know, not just to have me saying things, you know, weekly through readings, but someone who's really, you know, living this. Not to say that I'm not, but, you know, it's just, I think, helpful to hear from more people. Um, so we're going to have a link to your Instagram that goes along with this video. Is there anything else that you sort of wanted to add or?
Well, I wanted to say that although I'm not getting your readings like directly anymore,
Mm,
the ones that you're doing, still they're really valuable. So I do listen to all of them. You know, I just take what resonates, but
yeah.
it's nice to have it, and it also reminds me that I'm not alone, and there is
Yeah.
a community of us out there, and so you know I do like the messages and the different sort of guidance as well because it's always useful to get positive guidance of this nature, especially on this journey, no matter where we are in the journey.
It's true. Yeah. To have that community, like you said, regardless of where we are.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks, Amelia.
Okay, thank you.